Mark and John are two friends that both have YouTube channels of their own. Mark focused on making gaming videos, which were quite popular at the time. He would make multiple videos a week and always followed the latest trends and popular games. On the other hand, John had little interest in what was popular. He spent his time learning and creating personal projects around interesting things he learned. In the end, neither Mark nor John got very far. When the popularity of what Mark had invested so much of his time in dropped, he was back on square one, having wasted years of his life on what amounted to just short-term profits. And while John had the skills to make something interesting, because his content was so niche and all over the place, he never got a significant audience. These two characters may be fictional, but the lesson they teach us is what I want to talk about in this video. It is something that I wish I knew earlier in my life, the idea of simultaneously working for both now and the future. The difference between the people who work for just right now or just for the future and those who work for both is something that becomes ever more obvious as time passes. If you focus on the short term and what's popular now, you can most definitely achieve success faster, but in the end, when the hype dies down and what's popular changes, you'll be back at square one. And on the flip side, if you only focus on the long term, not only will you have an incredibly slow and disheartening growth rate due to a lack of urgency, you also run the risk of spending your time learning the wrong thing, which can be entirely avoided if you plan for the short term as well. Let's have a look at me as an example. My channel started as and got some traction making Warframe content, and I could just keep making videos that are popular right now and make a lot of views, but I don't. Instead, I want the process of making videos to actually move me forward and teach me more in addition to making good content. And that is because Warframe is not forever, and neither is YouTube. I need actually useful skills that can be used in many other contexts in addition to being useful in what I do right now. This way, when inevitably what I currently do becomes worthless, I actually have other paths to go down and I don't have to start from square one. And for that exact reason, when YouTube decided to terminate my channel, I wasn't worried at all. I knew for a fact that I have the skills to move forward because I had spent the time to prepare not just for the now, but for the future too. In reality, I had gone a step even further and had multiple backup plans for things to do if my channel suddenly became useless to me. One of which was a website as a learning platform, and I wouldn't be confident in doing such a thing if I hadn't spent the time to learn programming. On a side note, the reason my channel got terminated was because another channel in the same network got copyright striked, and YouTube decided that our channels are connected and terminated mine too, even though this is my only channel. Back on topic, the ideal situation is spending time on skills that are both relevant now as well as in the future, but that's not possible for everyone. So I would say an 80-20 ratio is a really handy rule of thumb, which is to say, spend 80% of your efforts on what you need now and 20% on what will lay the foundation for your future. If you're still skeptical about the idea, let's have a look at a familiar example. BlockBuster. They were an absolute giant in the industry. They got that big by renting movies, specifically VHS tapes, with 9,000 stores and 84,000 employees at their peak. They even had the chance to buy Netflix in the year 2000 for $50 million, but they laughed at the offer thinking it was a joke. They stuck to what had worked and was still working, which was in-store VHS rentals at the time. And because they didn't see the value of the online market and were far too late to the DVD market, when what they were already doing started to decline, Blockbuster came crashing down. But on the flip side, look at what Netflix did. They started out as the first DVD by mail rental service. You would go to their website and rent a movie, which they would mail to you. And then at 2007, looking at the future, they heavily invested in video streaming, and you know the rest. In short, unless you're actively looking at the future and preparing yourself for it, you will eventually find yourself in a dead end. One that many have found themselves in before you, and many more will be there in the future. That is as true for massive companies as it is for you and me. So don't stick to just the short-term profits. No one is safe from the onslaught of time. Keep your eyes open for changes and use what currently works as a stepping stone to build your future. And later, even that as a stepping stone for another one. The only way to win is to keep moving, and the only way to lose is to stop moving. It is only a matter of time till you see the outcome of your actions. It may be delayed, but it always shows up, be it in your favor or otherwise. And that's all I have for today. The next video will most likely be either the recommended primary or something like a prerequisite to it, but it may take a little longer than usual, just like this video. But unlike this one, the reason won't be because I was working on making the infrastructure for a website. Well, with that, I hope to see you next time, and bye bye!